the same people. If you want evidence of this, look no further than the controversy over Donna Brazil's new book. Brazil once ran the DNC. So when she says the Democratic Party worked hard to steal the election from Bernie Sanders, you can't exactly dismiss her as a partisan or a kook. And yet that's exactly what many in the establishment press have tried to do for several days. According to highly informed sources we spoke to, highly informed, top management at CNN directed its employees to undermine Brazil's credibility. Anchors and producers there were vocally offended, many of them, by Brazil's attacks on their friends, the Clintons. If you've been watching that channel, you may have noticed CNN's anchors suggesting that Donna Brazil cannot be trusted precisely because she took part in efforts to rig the primaries for Clinton. Watch.
She's the one who, through somebody who doesn't work at CNN, got access to one town hall question and sent an email, which we know from WikiLeaks, to someone in the Clinton campaign to give them a town hall question, which is completely unethical. She wasn't doing that for Bernie Sanders.
Do you take her at her word, Sam, given the fact that she lied about that CNN debate and giving those questions to Hillary Clinton ahead of time?
It's unbelievable. In retrospect, they're so obviously talking points. Oh, glad to know that. But CNN's not alone, by the way. Glenn Greenwald at The Intercept wrote a great piece the other day in which he pointed out that journalists have repeatedly spread misleading stories designed to exonerate the behavior of Hillary Clinton and the DNC. NBC News published a story claiming the Clinton-DNC agreement only applied to the general election. If they'd simply read the agreement, they would have seen that's false. It applied to both. That claim was quickly, though, repeated by MSNBC, The Hill, and others. Again, it was false. Establishment journalists also claimed that Sanders signed the very same agreement that Hillary Clinton did. That's false, too. The media loves a scandal, but in this case, they can't seem to downplay this one fast enough. Donna Brazil isn't backing down, though. Watch this.
For those who are telling me to shut up, they told Hillary that a couple of months ago. You know what I tell them? Go to hell. I'm going to tell my story.
Donna Brazil is going to join us on this show on Wednesday with her side of all of this. Meanwhile, Richard Goodstein advised Hillary Clinton on both her presidential campaigns, and he is brave enough to join us in studio.
Darn right.
So in her book, and again, we're having her Wednesday, I can't wait to hear about this, but she says that she experienced sexism on the Hillary campaign. She wasn't taken seriously because she was a woman. And it raises the obvious question, which is, do you think the Democratic Party can handle strong women like Donna Brazil?
So I don't know whether Donna Brazil is a kook, but what she says is kooky in the book and what she's been saying on TV. Let me give you an example.
Wait, I don't know why. Hold on. I thought the basic precept of liberalism is when a woman says she was mistreated for being a woman, that you take her seriously. You don't dismiss her as, quote, a kook or a crazy person.
In her book...
Am I the feminist here?
In her book, she says that sometimes men are not able to deal with women. This is being laid at the feet of people who worked for Hillary Clinton. I mean, the fact is, these are people... Hillary Clinton was accused of only having women work for her when she was in the Senate.
So you're dismissing her claim? You're dismissing her claim of sexism because why? Because Hillary Clinton's campaign...
I think she's got a distorted view of things.
She's crazy. She's another crazy woman.
I'm saying...
Crazy. I get it. The crazy woman defense.
I've
heard this before.
Okay, this is certifiably nuts. The political director, the communications director, the political director, the communications director, the digital director, you can go on and on and on, were women for Hillary. So the notion that somehow the Hillary Clinton campaign couldn't countenance a strong woman is crazy.
I think the campaign man wasn't Robbie Mook was a man. And look, all I'm saying is the Democratic Party has told me all my life that when a woman says she faces sexism, you're not allowed to dismiss her as crazy, or it's that time of the month, or any kind of insulting suggestion that she doesn't have her full wits about her. You have to take her seriously. And I do take Donna Brazil seriously. Here you are, the Democrats, saying she's just another crazy woman.
Here's the problem, I think, that Donna Brazil should have known better. Any presidential candidate, this is true on the Republican side and Democratic, takes over the national party. John McCain did that, put Frank Donatelli into the RNC. Right. And the Democrats do the same. That goes back decades, okay? Somehow or other, she acted offended as if somehow they were taking it out on her when they wanted to make decisions as opposed to her. So she's putting this spin about whether it's sexism or whatever, this whole, this nonsense that she spit out about somehow or other because of her race or whatnot. It really is, I wonder.
Okay, good. So just tell me, as someone who's kind of following along, sort of watching as our culture changes really fast, and I'm writing this down because I want to keep this for future reference. When are the times when I can just dismiss allegations of racism and sexism with the back of my hand and call them nonsense, as you just did? When am I allowed to do that?
When there's evidence to the contrary. And the evidence here is, again, every single person who was, not everyone, so many people at the top of the heap for the campaign. Yeah, but the fact
and there were lots of men on that campaign.
Up and down. If you look at that campaign, it was uniquely kind of occupied by very powerful senior women. And again, what Donna Brazile was taking personally, look, again, she was Al Gore's campaign manager, okay? So she didn't use Bill Clinton. There's a problem there, but it's not something that was Hillary Clinton's doing.
Boy, you're very, very certain of this. It's interesting. I'm going to, if I'm ever accused of something bad, I'm going to use your technique, which is, that's absurd. She's got to be crazy.
Well, except the evidence.
She's crazy.
I'm not saying she's crazy. I'm saying she's wrong.
You said she was a kook.
I'm saying what she's saying sounds crazy because it is demonstrably disproved.
Yeah, it hasn't actually been disproved, and you're making me even more anxious to speak to her directly. Really quickly, though, part of what's going on here is that the Clintons are losing control of the Democratic Party. It's not their party. The base doesn't agree with them on key issues. Clintons may be actually right on some of those issues from my perspective, but whatever. But the truth is, they're not going gently into that good night. Their time is over. It's been eclipsed. And these are kind of the last gasps of this political aristocracy that has been in power for 25 years. Isn't that what kind of is going on?
Well, I will say there is a tug of war going on within the Democratic Party between the Sanders and Warren wing and the wing that frankly has won presidential campaigns. Now, there's this talk about Democrats being in disarray.
Is Elizabeth Warren a kook, by the way? Is she
she's not a kook. I have great regard for her.
Her allegations of sexism just crazy, too?
I think what she said about the things being rigged is flat out wrong. And in fact, even Donna Brazile yesterday on the Stephanopoulos show said things were not rigged.
Okay.
So that's
crazy. God, I'm never going to use that, but, that's just me. Richard, great to see you tonight. It is all coming out now. A supposedly legitimate political race for the nation's highest office, undermined by collusion between a candidate and a powerful outside actor. American voters repeatedly lied to. Now our democracy is quaking beneath the blow of it all. Referring, of course, to the 2016 Democratic presidential primary. That party reeling from a recent piece in Politico by former acting DNC chair Donna Brazile. In the article, which is taken from her upcoming book, Brazile says the DNC essentially handed itself over to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, giving the Clinton campaign control over fundraising, strategy, and financial decisions. They even had veto power over hiring at the DNC. The revelation is shocking, even among people who suspected it was true, and it's now splitting the Democratic Party. Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts now says the 2016 race was, quote, rigged in the primaries. Current DNC Deputy Chair Keith Ellison of Minnesota, who supported Bernie Sanders, said the party is betraying millions of voters. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, however, says, stop talking about it. Time to move on and focus on the next election and not feud over the last one. What about voters, though? Do they have a say in all of this? Should they have had a say? Christy Setzer is a Democratic strategist, president of New Heights Communication, and joins us tonight. Christy, thanks a lot for coming on.
I'm really glad to be here. Thanks, Tucker.
How is this not the definition of corruption?
Well, I know that Donna Brazile would like to sell some books. However, she fails to account for two things. The main argument that she makes in this supposedly explosive piece is, one, that when she got to the DNC, two things were happening. One, it had been mismanaged, and two, she felt that people there had their finger on the scale for Hillary. Well, guess what? We already knew that. And that is why several people resigned at the convention and she took over. So it's really old news here, and I'm a little confused as to why we're focused on it.
Well, I don't know why we're attacking Donna Brazile personally, whom I'll remind you is a woman of color. But I don't think that your response, just using the rules that you guys set up, that your response accounts for the claims that she makes. She says there was an agreement, explicitly signed, a legal agreement between the Clinton campaign in August of 2015, a year before the primaries ended, and the DNC giving the Clinton campaign financial and hiring control over decisions at the DNC. That seems like corruption. I don't know how else you would describe that.
No, it's not. So here's what actually happens, and I'm sure this happens on the Republican side as well, which is that when someone has secured their party's nomination, essentially they start acting as one with the party committee.
Right.
So
right.
It seems as though the Clinton campaign decided to make this agreement early, which said, hey guys, when I actually secure the nomination, you know that we're going to have some say over the communications director, over some of the strategy, things like that. That, to me, does not seem out of the ordinary.
Yeah, that's not actually what it said. And I mean, look, if you're making the point that both parties try to rig the system in favor of the candidate they want, you're absolutely right. And the Republicans tried to do that, and they failed. And that's how they got Trump. No, it's true. Both parties try to rig it. But my question is, don't voters have a say in this? The party doesn't belong to the people who are paid by it. It belongs to the voters who vote for it. And to make an agreement like this before they get to vote seems to me an act of undermining democracy.
It's not at all. I mean, the states are the ones who control the primaries. The DNC and party committee staffers really have, frankly, very little role in that. So no. And the other thing is that I think there's a suggestion here that that it was so unfair as to that something might have changed the outcome. Hillary Clinton won the primary by 4 million votes. So it's really hard to see how this could have gone down any other way. And again, to look back on, would this change things so that she wouldn't rightfully become president? Well, she's not in office right now, so it's hard to know why this matters so much.
I mean, these are all hypothetical questions, but what we do know is that the system was not on the level. It was rigged. And I'm not a Democrat, but a lot of people who have devoted their lives to the party are saying that. Here's what Tulsi Gabbard, who at one point was a vice chair of the DNC, you can't say she's not a Democrat, quote, the campaign finance laws, and I'm quoting, essentially allowed the Clinton campaign to bypass individual contribution limits by funneling millions of dollars to the DNC, taking control of the DNC in the process. She's not selling a book. That's a real accusation from a lifelong Democrat.
It's not an accusation. What it is again, to go back and think about what had happened here, Hillary Clinton took the DNC when they were in a ton of debt, when they were basically bankrupt, and got them out of bankruptcy, raised a lot of money for the DNC, raised a lot of money for state parties, and then, basically said, hey, and we're also going to want some say in how that money is used. And that's not so unfair. As I understand it, the same agreement was basically offered to Bernie Sanders' campaign as well. He chose not to raise money for the party. And look, that sets up a larger contrast between the fact that Hillary Clinton has been a Democrat largely all her life. She talks about how she was a Goldwater girl. And then, and has been.
And Bernie's not really a Democrat. I mean, I love that Bernie's not really a Democrat argument. Look, he voted with the Democrats his entire career in the Senate, as you well know.